you don't need to have all of the answers. You need to have direction, you need to calculate your risk. But you know, that not knowing all the answers is a good thing in the beginning, because that's going to give you the confidence to just propel yourself forward and overcome the obstacles.
Today our guest is John Winfield, who's the founder of Dr. Juice. I think my first question is, can you take us through maybe the journey that led you to launching Dr. Juice in Malta?
Okay, so I graduated my university degree and then got my first graduate job in London, and it was more of a marketing kind of professional role, and I felt like there was something missing, you know. I got a year or two into it and I felt like I could give more to the world and I wasn't kind of where I wanted to be, so I went off traveling. I went to Australia, one-way ticket. And whilst I was traveling around, I came across over there at the time, there was a lot of juice bars around, healthy eating. I'd never seen it in Europe before. And I was actually traveling, backpacking all the way around Australia, and I got caught up in a hostel. And I was working any job at the time to pay my way around, and I got a construction job. And I ended up, it wasn't my thing, so I ended up dropping something on my toe, breaking my toe, and I stayed at this hostel for around about a month. Anyway, whilst I was there, there were two Spanish brothers, Vicente, Carlos, and they're always, you know, every night drinking in a hostel, as you do when you're 20 years old and backpacking. And there was a food truck outside, like a fruit van, and next to it was a health shop, exactly next to the hostel. So every morning I used to make for them smoothies and juices for their hangovers, which started to catch on in the hostel. And then these two brothers started calling me Dr. Juice. And my parents had moved out to Malta, my mother's Maltese. And obviously I kind of had this big feeling that, you know, I'd just finally connected the dots. You know, I'd had this eureka moment, Dr. Juice, and I'm writing down my mission statement while I'm traveling. And I came across to Malta and rented my first shop, and off I went.
So how long were you in Australia for?
I was there for around about a year, something like that, traveling around.
And before that, so you were brought up in
the UK.
In the UK,
so I grew up 23 years there, and then I've been in Malta now for 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the obvious question, I guess, what made you come to Malta and what made you stay? What attracted you to stay here after you lived in the UK and Australia?
So obviously my parents moving over here to retire, even though I think they in the first years they were working more than they ever did, helping me with my dream. It was a little bit of that, plus I've got a lot of family here, so I think really what it was for me was that it was either back to the UK, where the competitive market for on-the-go food concepts or starting off your dream, it just seemed like a more difficult task. So Malta, I saw the opportunity. There was nothing like what I did at the time. So I saw myself with the right market opportunity and with the right concept, and I felt like we were just kind of ready for that first part of growth.
Okay, but at the same time, yes, okay, there was no one like you here, but isn't that also a challenge in itself? Because maybe the market had to, the market didn't exist, so you have to kind of educate the market.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we started from ground zero with everything we did health-wise. So I remember my first menu, there were quite a lot of vegetable juices on it. Now, at the time, you know, people used to return them saying, you know, yeah, these don't taste very nice. You know, but that's what you ordered, isn't it? There's cucumber, celery, lemon, spinach.
Okay.
Since that, obviously the green juices took centre stage a few years after. So there was that learning phase, you know, and expanding the menu and experimenting, and so yeah, from that perspective, there was a big challenge. Right. Yeah.
And what was kind of the biggest challenge you think throughout your journey for the past, I believe, 12, 13 years? How long?
Yes, it's been 13 years with Dr. Juice now. Wow, biggest challenge. So many. I think there was starting off from controlling the whole business by myself, you know, kind of scaling up. Once you get to about 3 outlets, there's that lack of control, so that really needs you to have the right systems in place so you can scale it without losing control and with keeping that consistency. So when we got to about three outlets, that was a really big challenge to upgrade in order for us to scale. And then again, we had another sort of boom moment when we really started to go into food. So we started opening more restaurant bases. We've got 2 restaurants open now, soon to open another 3rd. So we're doing juices, smoothies, to-go food, hot food, and trying to control such a big menu, keeping the same consistency and the same mission throughout, has been also quite a big challenge for me.
So talking about scaling up, how did you manage to have this consistent approach? Because even people I spoke to when I said you're going to be interviewed, they actually thought that the franchise was an international franchise. They didn't know that it was founded locally.
Yeah.
So how did you manage to kind of have that consistency across all outlets? What do you think is kind of the key to having that?
I mean, the sort of operating procedures help you to be able to keep kind of the consistent operation in terms of the product. But then obviously, I think for me, Dr. Juice, it was about creating that, that culture, that sense of community within the staff and the brand and what we get behind and what we stand for. So for me, it was about having a very clear mission on the sort of positive life force behind Dr. Juice. And I think then that comes alive in the marketing, in the way that we recruit, in our staff, in the way that we serve. Because again, it's very much a part of bringing the brand to life for me. And I think that helps with the message of consistency for the brand.
Okay, and when it comes to your team,
Yeah.
You have how many outlets at the moment do you have?
So we've got 9 outlets now, and we're going for our 10th by the end of the year.
And where will that be, if you can say?
That's going to be in Imriahel. Cool. Yeah, so it's going to be the 10th location.
So obviously you have quite a big team.
Yeah.
When it comes to kind of getting people on board, what do you look for in kind of the team at Dr. Juice?
Yeah, so we've got obviously we've started to develop a head office team. So obviously that was quite a major step when we started to grow. We needed to manage, we need to segment the business. So there was one point where I had lots of different hats, where I used to I've done everything in the business. Every last task that you can imagine of, I've done it. Because first, you have to do it yourself, learn, understand.
I think I myself remember you at Dr. Juice in Spinola.
Yeah, everything.
I remember you actually serving
yes,
there.
Yes.
So, yes.
I love those days because obviously, I love being with the customers, learning from the ground upwards in terms of what people like. And all of those years of service, I think I've been serving in Dr. Juice for at least 7 or 8 years. And then there came a time where that was no longer possible because it was too demanding. But I learned so much during that time about how people think, what they want, how to perfect the service, the recipes, the training. And then it came a time where that attention needed to be guided towards the bigger operation. So we've built quite a big team now in the head office to manage different departments now, from the marketing to the human resources, operations and finance and so on. And obviously we're always looking for that energy for life and that experience and that passion and that go-getter type attitude, because I think that is how you make magic. And likewise for our crew members and our staff and all the managers that we have, we're always looking for sort of passionate, energetic people, and we have a very much family vibe at Dr. Juice, and I'm very proud of that. Yeah.
And you've also kind of digitized as well. You've launched an app, I believe.
That's right.
And what's that about? Can people kind of pre-book? How does it work?
So obviously last year the huge change in the whole industry is obviously delivery. People getting very used towards ordering foods on their apps and delivery from the third-party apps and aggregators and so on. So obviously we wanted a nice easy place to help to sort of promote loyalty with our customers and to allow them to pre-order. So in our mind at the time, people used to have to wait at the store in queue at lunchtime, so we came up with this idea that they can pre-order and just simply collect. So we built our own app. That was a whole process of building it from scratch. So they can actually pre-order and they can get rewarded points for when they purchase. That obviously superseded the card with a stamp. So obviously that was evolved. And obviously now we encourage people to come to the shops obviously with incentivized discounts instead of using the delivery platforms. But delivery was a really big change. And today, obviously, you can get visible. Bricks and mortar businesses need to be visible online. They need to have a digital presence. So obviously, we needed to expand our reach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think that obviously now, hopefully, COVID is kind of
Yeah.
seems to be behind us,
Yeah.
but do you think that consumer behavior did kind of remain, it did change and kind of certain behavior remained of people?
Absolutely, absolutely. Delivery is a huge disruption to the market, which came, as actually coincided in Malta's case with the pandemic. So I think it was a immediate shift, and that is only expanding. Obviously, consumer behaviour has changed an awful lot because, how it is in Malta with so much car traffic, limited parking, heat and so on. People finding it quite comfortable to be able to be sat at home ordering deliveries. So,
and at the office.
Yeah, and even, the way that office working has changed, people working more remotely, they're not all in the office block, which was next to one of our shops. So there's been a huge shift in consumer behaviour, and we need to be mindful of that when we're selecting locations. It's definitely changed the way that we trade as an operator quite significantly.
Okay. And talking about the different outlets, have you ever considered going international, or are you keeping it local?
No, I mean that's the next step for us. So we've had enough time to perfect the concept, build the brand and the operations and the infrastructure and the team. And the next step for us is going international. So we're looking at we've honed in on 2 or 3 markets that we want to focus on to expand obviously the concept abroad. Take that proof of concept and then start building in other markets as well. And obviously that all originates from Malta, which where the head office team will be.
Yeah. And do you have an idea of where, or is it still under wraps?
Well, yeah, I think we are looking towards Italy as a market we've identified, and a few others.
Knowing what you know now,
Yeah.
Is there something maybe you tell yourself, when you had started in the beginning?
Yes, an awful lot of things I'd tell myself. And I love every opportunity I get to actually sort of mentor somebody starting their own business and trying to inspire or help anyone along the way. I'm very passionate about that myself because I know what it takes and I know how difficult it can be. And with all the experience I've actually gathered over the years, sometimes I can be too critical to somebody just starting off because there's that raw energy for somebody starting off. You don't need to have all of the answers. You need to have direction, you need to calculate your risk. But that not knowing all the answers is a good thing in the beginning because that's going to give you the confidence to just propel yourself forward and overcome the obstacles. So what I've learned, I think it would be quite a short conversation because when you have to create something from nothing, the real thing is to be able to learn from your mistakes and grow from them, always remain humble in everything, and just let that passion drive you to get you off the ground. And then once you're off the ground, I think it's really important, particularly in the food business, to make sure you have those business fundamentals so that you don't get the blur between passion and good business. Because I'm overly passionate, and you need to be able to structure your business in such a way that there isn't too much of a conflict at the both.
Okay, because I think passion is all great, but sometimes I think in business it's not enough maybe, but there is also discipline, and if kind of things go wrong, it might kind of, I feel if you're very emotional about a business, very passionate, if things go wrong, it can kind of hit you very badly. So that's why I'm interested to find out kind of from your end, even to inspire others at the end of the day. Absolutely. How to kind of help continue and go through the hurdles and obviously succeed when you're passionate about something. So.
Absolutely.
And you were very young as well when you started.
Yes, I would have been 23, 24.
I mean, it's quite incredible
Yeah.
to have achieved so much at a very young age.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I knew very little. I had the energy and the passion for good living, and I understood, and I'd spent a lot of time immersed in the sort of health and well-being industry. So that was my starting point. But I learned so much over the years in terms of nutrition, recipes, cooking, branding, marketing, HR.
And I mean, you are obviously, and as you said, you had experience in marketing as well. And it's very clear that you are also a marketer. So it definitely obviously helps.
Yeah.
On a more light-hearted note, what's your favorite smoothie?
My favorite smoothie? Well, they cycle, because obviously a lot of the things on the menu are all recipes that I would be drinking at the time. So I kind of the menu has sort of evolved with my taste, if you like. But obviously, when I go for a workout in the morning, like the shake is an essential thing for me in the morning. So I like my almond charge. Okay, so it's almond nut butter, almond milk, banana, scoop of protein. For me, that hits the spot in the morning. And sometimes I'll cycle a bit of keto. So the cocoa keto is another good one. Very well macronutriently balanced, full of good fats. Keeps you going throughout the day. Yeah.
I'm addicted to the flu fighter myself.
Yes, it's a classic.
I just love it.
It's a classic. It's light. I mean, it's a great. It's a
the
great
carrots,
cream.
orange, ginger.
That's right. Yeah, it's a super one.
Yeah. And not about food.
Okay.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food. Again, the menu is full of food that I like. But the chicken burner salad for me is a go-to for lunch. And I'm a big fan of our new range, which is the veggie Buddha bowl is really nice as well. Yeah.
And you serve food. Is it in all outlets or is it in?
We serve food in all of our outlets, but we've got 2 restaurants at Parma and Xira. We've actually got a separate team of chefs that are putting food out. So we've got a very big menu at Dr. Juice.
So this is a question that's normally asked to women, but I don't see why I shouldn't ask it to men. So I know you have 2 children, you're a family man, so how do you manage to balance it all? Is there a secret to managing to have a kind of work-life balance when you run such a business?
Waking up early. Waking up early, I think, helps. And, you know, I do try to balance my life out in terms of, I think the work-life balance is really important. And I make the most of the time with the kids. So, you know, we've discovered things that we like to do. We like to spend quality time together. And I try not to work too late, but I'm very committed to them. So what's the secret to manage it all?
I think you've
waking
said
up early. Yeah.
Waking up early, I agree.
And staying and keeping it, for me, you know, how far I can take my mind and my body is really about keeping healthy and active. I feel like when you're doing the right exercise and you've got the right diet, what you can actually cope with and how much pressure you can put on your body increases. So, you know,
so self-care kind of
exactly.
as well, kind of taking care of you, so that you can.
That's so important.
Yeah, it's all about pouring from an empty. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
Kind of. That's the saying, I think. So yeah.
I think for me, staying in that zone allows me to be able to accomplish whatever I put my mind to. That's how I feel.
Makes a lot of sense. And do your kids like your juices?
Do you know? I mean, they love the brand, and they do have some favourites. But I'm not going to lie, getting them to get into fruit, vegetables, and smoothies is a really big challenge for me.
I have kids, so I know.
Exactly. We try and do it in colourful, interactive ways, but it's tough. Yeah, it's very tough.
It's good to know it's tough for even
absolutely,
like you.
Mine are no different.
And kids tend to rebel against their parents,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it can also be that. And what's next for Dr. Juice?
So we've just launched our new cookbook, which has been a big, huge undertaking from the company and myself. And it's a 120 recipe. We're going through everything from liquid meals, smoothies and juices, brunches, lunches. We've got a kids' corner. We've got a no junk foods for those comfort classics, full of good ingredients. We've got a full, enormous range. thick hardback book, and obviously we really wanted to kind of define a bit more about what Dr. Juice food is all about the right ingredients, and it's all about understanding that you don't have to walk a tightrope your whole life. You know, you need to find that balance in the way that you live, in the food that you cook, and we go all around the world with the flavors that we bring into the book and the techniques. They're very simple, and it was a huge project for us. So that's just been launched. I can't wait for everybody to start buying them and enjoying some of our recipes at home. There are a few of the Dr. Juice recipes in there as well.
So it's very clear with this book that you're obviously so passionate about helping people eat more healthily and more wholesome. You know, that you're not just encouraging people to obviously purchase from Dr. Juice, but also to, you know, use your knowledge and passion in their own home.
Absolutely. I mean, that was something for us that started during the pandemic. Because obviously I was stuck at home and everyone else was stuck at home. So I thought, well, how can how can the Dr. Juice brand reach people at home? And that was when I first started doing videos and recipes and sharing them online. And we got a huge response from it. So I could see that people are interested in our food and the recipes that we're creating. So logically, the next step came along, which was, why don't we kind of take this one step further and create a book. Something that we really take seriously in the company is our environmental impact and the community and how we can improve ourselves as an operator. So we've done a huge sustainability sort of audit, and we have a goal to really reduce our impact on the environment.
What do you mean by a sustainability audit?
So we're looking at assessing all the areas in which we sort of impact the environment, whether it's how far goods travel or how much packaging we use or what we reuse, how our employees come to work, what sort of impact we have on the environment. So obviously to get this right in terms of business operation and sort of a sustainable approach to running a business, it's a challenge. I think one of the bigger ones that I've had to face, because to keep a business efficient, you need support, and you need to be able to, you can pioneer so much by yourself, but then you need wider help. So for us, we're always looking at how we can sort of reach a target of lowering, the amount of packaging that we use.
Maybe the people out there watching who do not understand the importance of sustainability and why these changes need to happen. Yeah. Why is it so important?
I think obviously, as business operators, we need to make sure that we operate as ethically as we can. We have pressures in order for us to operate and sustain our own business, but we're always on a journey to better ourselves as a brand. And obviously, the issues that we have in the way that the world is and the increasing demands on the planet, we all need to start from a very, the really micro level in order to start making a difference one by one to get that macro effect of change. Mm-hmm. So for us as an operator, we understand this, and we set our target in as realistic as we can to make a difference.
Because I'm asking because maybe there are some people who may not understand the impact, obviously, that maybe added waste has on the planet. So obviously, absolutely. Because we're talking about climate change, we're talking about obviously protecting our oceans and
absolutely. And for us, obviously, we're passionate about finding solutions, passionate about that change, and do anything that we can and everything that we can to make a change, no matter how incremental. Because we're all on a journey in anything in life, and I think with the question of sustainability and business approach for a company like ours, it's a question of trying to set a target and get there over a period of time.
And at the end of the day, it's all about quality of life for us, universally, because at the end of the day, the more sustainable we are in general, the better our quality of life now and even more in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure.
And thank you to you guys for watching and listening, and we'll see you next week for the next episode.